My boyfriend admitted during a fight about his corn addiction that he doesn't find me physically attractive. Even after years together, his effort to change and prove his love hasn't erased those words, and now I don't know how to marry him. This all starts a very long time ago, or at least it feels that way now, on a sleepy Tuesday afternoon when I walked in on him watching corn. We were still young in the relationship then, the sort of young where boundaries are flexible and promises are easy to make. I remember my first reaction, a weird, embarrassed annoyance more than anything else. I told him it didn't bother me. I said it with the kind of casual shrug that meant, I'm fine, because I wanted to be easygoing, because I trusted him, because I wanted to be the kind of girlfriend who didn't make mountains out of molehills. He promised. He said he understood. He said he wouldn't do it anymore. I believed him. I let the moment drop into the lazy pile of things couples forget about. The time he left his socks on my floor, the movie we decided not to finish, the argument about whether to buy a plant. Then he moved in with me, and everything that had been small and laughable felt heavier. Our routines meshed. Our closets became half his and half mine. Our mornings and nights became shared scripts. The idea that he could be alone in our home watching other people feel things with intent made something in me tighten in a way I hadn't expected. At first it was little things. A browser left open, an app with a muted notification, a quick laugh at a video he'd watched on his phone, and then locked away. I told myself it was paranoia. I told myself to trust him. But the seed of doubt was planted, and once planted, it grew teeth. I found myself reaching for his laptop more often than I wanted to admit. Not because I wanted to trap him, but because I wanted proof. I wanted the reassurance that the promise he made, the one I took as truth, was still true. I started checking his history. I know, not my proudest moment. I was obsessive and ashamed of it even then, but there was an urgency under it, a desperate need to know whether I was living with someone who had traded aspects of our intimacy for pixels and strangers. The day I stopped being able to pretend everything was fine was the day I opened his Instagram, then his TikTok, then his Facebook. Every app, every account, every curated corner of his online life was filled with corn. Profiles dedicated to it, follows, saved posts, playlists. It was everywhere. It felt like being pulled under by a current I hadn't seen until it was too late. I lost it. Not the quiet, controlled kind of conversation loss, but the kind that bangs against the walls of the apartment and makes the pictures rattle. I cried in a way I hadn't cried since my teenage heartbreaks, a hot, ragged thing that made my chest feel raw. I told him, with every syllable a small grenade, how it made me feel, disgusting, unworthy, anxious in my own skin. I told him that I could never look like the people in those videos, that I would never do the things they did, and that seeing him there with them made me feel like I was living next to an ideal I couldn't touch. He listened. At first the silence between us felt like a thin glass. Then he cracked it open and told me something I hadn't expected. He admitted he had been dealing with corn addiction for a long time, long before we met. The admission should have offered a bridge, some map to understanding, but instead it felt like a new kind of chasm. I wanted to help. I wanted to be the supportive partner who stood beside him while he fought his demons. So I threw myself into research. Articles, forums, TED Talks, clinical write-ups. I read about triggers and coping strategies, watched videos about how people rewire habits, learned words like relapse and rewiring. I wanted solutions, a plan, any script that would let us step forward. But underneath my research was still that raw, personal hurt. I started asking him the questions that keep you up at night when your world tilts. Why? What does corn give you that I don't? Is something missing in our relationship? Is it me? He had been patient before, but by then I was already wound tight from a week of obsessive checking and crying and sleepless nights. When I asked him calmly, or at least I tried to, it set something off. He got agitated, not with the answers I sought, but with the way I was seeking them. Frantically, desperately, as if my identity hinged on the response. Then he said it. I don't find you physically attractive, he said, blunt and cold as a winter window. He went on. You're boring in how you dress. You're not adventurous. The words landed like a physical blow. I felt my world tilt, then collapse. Everything that had come before, the late-night conversations, the folded laundry, the inside jokes, as if it had been staged with me as the understudy rather than the lead. It wasn't just that he watched corn. It was that, after all our years together, in the place where I expected trust and tenderness, he placed judgment. In that instant I lost who I was. I have never been pretty. I have never been thin. I have never been beautiful, and I've always known that. It wasn't something anyone needed to tell me. It lived with me, a shadow that followed me everywhere I went. But for 3 years, I believed that maybe, just maybe, he didn't see it. That somehow, when he looked at me, he saw something different than what I saw in the mirror. I thought he loved me for who I am. I thought when he touched me, when he wanted me, when he kissed me, it was because he desired me. I thought I was enough. So when those words left his mouth, those cruel, sharp words that confirmed every ugly thought I had ever whispered to myself, I felt something collapse inside me. He had validated the darkest part of my beliefs. He had said out loud what I had always been terrified of, that I was not attractive, not enough, not the kind of woman who could turn her partner's head without effort. It was embarrassing in a way I don't think I'll ever forget, because I had given him everything. I'm so shy that I don't even wear sleeveless shirts in public. I've always been the girl who hides in oversized sweaters, who avoids swimsuits, who doesn't want to draw attention. But with him, I let those walls come down. I let him see all of me. Every stretch mark, every curve I had learned to despise, every insecurity I usually kept buried under layers of fabric. I let him in because I thought he loved me, because I thought he saw me differently than the world did. And now, to know that in those moments when I was vulnerable, when I was bearing the pieces of myself I had spent a lifetime covering, he might have been looking at me with disgust, it broke me. It made my skin feel like something I wanted to crawl out of. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Was I just a better alternative to his hand? Was he picturing those women, the ones he scrolled through endlessly, when he was with me? Was I only a vessel for release, while his real desire belonged to strangers on a screen? I don't know if that makes sense to anyone else, but it makes sense to me. It eats at me in quiet moments, when I'm brushing my teeth, when I'm changing clothes, when I catch my reflection in the bathroom mirror. It loops in my mind like a cruel chant. He doesn't find you attractive. He doesn't want you. And yet here I am, a month later.
We've spoken about it.
A lot. More than I thought two people could speak about the same wound without tearing it open all over again. And in that time, he has changed. In ways I didn't expect him to. In ways I didn't think he was capable of. We set up an accountability app together. I have free range over all of his devices now. It's not about me checking them constantly. I don't think that would be healthy for me or for him. But the fact that he doesn't hide anything anymore, that the passwords are gone, that I could look if I wanted to, that matters. For the first time, it feels like he has nothing to hide. He has put in the effort, real effort. And I've noticed it. He listens to me, even when I break down over the same fears again and again. He sits with me in the tears and doesn't try to rush me out of them. He has been honest, patient, and gentle in a way he wasn't before. He treats me better, kinder. And he hasn't gone back to the old patterns. Not once. He says he's done with it. And this time, I believe him because he's backing his words with actions. He tells me he loves me. He tells me he finds me attractive. He tells me he wants me. He says the words he should have said from the start. He tells me he regrets that night, that he should never have spoken those words out of anger and frustration. He swears he didn't mean them, that he was lashing out because he felt cornered. But he's trying. That's undeniable. He's doing the work. He even asked my mom for permission to marry me. When he told me that, I almost couldn't breathe. It was such a clear, tangible act of love, and it shook me because it stood in such stark contrast to the man who had once looked me in the eye and told me I wasn't attractive. And still, I don't know how to get over what he said. That's the piece I can't figure out. Everyone says actions matter most. And his actions have been everything I could have asked for. He is showing up, he is proving his love, he is putting in effort every single day. But the words, those awful, cutting words, still live inside me. I hear them when I wake up. I hear them when I catch myself in the mirror. I hear them when he kisses me, and a part of me wonders if he's lying now, if he's just saying what I want to hear. How do I just believe that none of those things he said were true? How do I look at myself in the mirror, the same face, the same body, the same me, and accept that somehow, suddenly, his opinion has changed? I haven't transformed. My appearance hasn't shifted overnight. My weight hasn't melted off. My skin hasn't smoothed. My body hasn't rearranged itself into something magazine-worthy. I am the same. And yet, now he tells me that he finds me attractive. Now, he tells me that I am enough. How could that be true, when a month ago those words of rejection rolled so easily off his tongue? That's what keeps circling in my mind. How do I trust that this isn't just another lie to patch over the damage he caused? He says it was anger, that he didn't mean it, that it was a cruel lash out in the heat of the moment. But if anger loosened his tongue, then it loosened the truth he was hiding, didn't it? That's what I wrestle with most. The possibility that he didn't just make a mistake with his words, that he finally revealed how he truly felt about me, and now he's backpedaling because he knows what it did to me. I don't know how to silence that thought. And then there's the question of marriage. He wants to marry me. He's even asked my mom's permission, and the romantic part of me, the part that still believes in forever, should have lit up with joy at that. But instead, a pit formed in my stomach. I picture myself walking down the aisle in a white dress, every insecurity exposed, every flaw magnified under the eyes of friends and family, and I imagine him at the altar, looking at me. Not with awe, not with pride, not with love-soaked admiration, but with disappointment. The thought haunts me, that he'll see me on our wedding day and feel cheated somehow, like he deserved better, like he could have had one of the women whose images filled his phone and his mind. That I'll never be his fantasy, never be his ideal, and that no matter how much he loves me, some part of him will always wish I looked different. And then guilt crashes over me. Because if that's how I feel, am I not stealing away his chance at true happiness? He says he loves me for more than just my body, and I do believe him. I believe he loves my kindness, my loyalty, my laugh, the way I care. But my reasoning tells me he could find all of that in someone else, someone with the same soul but wrapped in a body he wouldn't have to force himself to desire. Wouldn't that be better for him? Wouldn't that be more fair? He tells me no. He tells me I'm wrong. He tells me he wants me, that he chooses me, that he wouldn't be here if he didn't. He says he regrets what he said, that his viewpoint has changed, that he sees me differently now. He insists that even if, in that moment of anger, there was truth in his words, he no longer feels that way. But how do I let that sink in? How do I unhear what I heard? How do I erase the image of him looking at me with disgust, an image my mind has painted so vividly that it feels like a memory? I know I'm not supposed to hold on to grudges, but I don't know if what I'm holding on to is a grudge or a wound that hasn't healed. Am I the villain for seeing his effort, for seeing the genuine change in him, and still clutching the hurt to my chest like proof of something bigger? He is putting in the work. I can't deny that. He's honest now. He's transparent. He's consistent. He listens to me, comforts me, shows up for me in ways I once thought impossible. He is, in every sense, a good man. But he broke me in ways I don't know how to fix. That's the part he doesn't seem to fully understand. He tells me that I also need to put in the effort, that I need to change my mindset, to see myself differently, to accept that I am beautiful to him. He says he can't do the work alone. And I get that, I really do. I know healing isn't something he can force into me. But what he doesn't realize is that I've always known I'm ugly. That's not new. That's not the part that destroyed me. What broke me was him agreeing with me. Him validating those lifelong beliefs with the authority of the man who saw me most intimately. Him saying out loud what I had always feared to be true. That's the wound. And I don't know how to look into his eyes now, even as he showers me with compliments, and believe that they aren't lies. Because when he says I'm beautiful, it feels like pity. When he says I'm sexy, it feels like performance. When he says I'm wonderful, I shut down, because if I let myself believe it, then I'm opening myself up to the possibility of being crushed again the next time his frustration boils over. And I can't do that again. He gets frustrated, too, because from his perspective, he's doing everything right. He's putting in the work, proving himself day after day, saying the words I asked him to say. And still, I shut him down. Still, I flinch at his compliments and twist them into lies. I can feel his patience wearing thin sometimes, not because he doesn't love me, but because he doesn't know how to reach me through this wall I've built. And maybe that's the cruelest irony of all. He broke me with words, and now I can't accept his words as tools for healing. I don't want him to lie to me anymore. He's lied enough. And so, even when he tells the truth, even when maybe for once he really means it, I can't let myself believe it.